Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you all. Coming at you with some Fire King Snake Eyes as we are continuing our coverage for meta decks into this new season here. So for this particular iteration of Fire King Snake Eye, much like a lot of the decks, we actually did a deck building stream wherein we went and looked at untapped, like some of the top decks sorting by win rate with a threshold of at least 100 games, just to make sure that there was a quality sample size, and pulling builds from there for some inspiration. So that's kind of where this Fire King Snake Eye build comes from. Some things that it does differently that I probably wouldn't normally do is a notable lack of monster negates here in this particular build. Only 2 Imperm and no Veilers at all. I usually try to make room for, like, in this format in particular, I really like playing in a lot of decks 4 negates. It could be 4 monster effect negates, Veilers, and Imperms, right? Could be 3 Imperm, could be 1 Veiler, could be 2 and 2, you know, so on and so forth. But this build does play fewer than I typically would. I also don't normally play Kurikara Divine Carnate in Fire King Snake Eye in particular. I have played it in the past in Pure Snake Eye, but this is my first time trying the card out in this particular variant of this deck. So I did have a couple of times where, I don't remember if I actually ended up summoning it. I don't think I did, but I do remember one situation, it might even be in one of our replays, where I almost used it. And I ultimately didn't end up needing it, but it was a very, very good backup option. So I'm definitely open to testing the Divine Carnate a little bit more in the future. What else is different about this build in particular? I don't remember if I was on triple attacks before, but I probably was. This build seems like between the Kurikara and the triple attack that it does kind of prioritize board breaking a little more than disrupting, and in Master Duel Best of 1 format, I tend to value disrupting a little bit more than board breaking, or like, you know, stopping your opponent on their turn as opposed to, you know, using a board breaker on yours. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this build definitely performed pretty fine for me. Extra deck is very standard and exactly the way I would have it. I love 2 Promethean Princess. It's definitely not necessary. If you only own the 1 copy, which I think most people do, then you could definitely, of course, just play 1, but having the second one matters a lot. Not even just for, like, Cashier Unicorn. That's actually the assumption that everybody makes when they see the second princess and like, oh, second princess for Unicorn. It's like, I mean, kind of, yeah, that is definitely, of course, a great upside to having 2 princess, but I don't think Cashier Unicorn is, like, so much of a threat that I would change my deck building for that one specific card that you really don't even see as often as you did earlier this year, you know, nowadays. But no, the main reason I like 2 Promethean Princess is grind games. It's so important to have that second Promethean Princess for the grind games. There's been situations before when only playing 1 where, you know, my opponent call-byed the Promethean Princess that I set up on turn 1, and then on follow-up turns, I actually kind of struggle to close out the game because of not having the second princess there. So, yeah, loving that in the extra deck. Just again, this extra deck is pretty, I feel pretty solid overall. I personally wouldn't change a thing about it. It might look a little stock standard, but again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I could see maybe taking out like Underworld Goddess for maybe like Typhon or something, or possibly number 90. Or if you only own 1 Promethean Princess, you could definitely just play like Typhon instead. Or again, maybe number 90 or something, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when it comes to this build in particular, it's fairly standard overall. I don't know if there's anything like too special going on with it. Fire King Snake Eye, I think overall though, as a deck in Master Duel, it's kind of interesting how it's viewed, right? I talked about this a lot yesterday, and I've even already seen a comment on the YouTube video saying like, well, Snake Eye is still strong, so Master Duel isn't in a healthy... Snake Eye is still the strongest deck, so Master Duel is not in a healthy format. I think that the format we're in, I maintain that I think it is healthy, and I don't think this deck being the strongest deck in this iteration is particularly oppressive, right? Definitely not as oppressive as Snake Eye used to be. Again, I really feel like people are just kind of like, oh, a Snake Eye deck is still the best deck? Yeah, that's not healthy. Without even really bothering to like really analyze the power level of this deck relative to the format. I don't feel like this deck is crazy, like, leaps above everything else, right? When I say that Fire King Snake Eye is the most powerful deck in the format, I think this deck is, like, slightly more powerful than Yubel and Rescue Ace, which I consider to be those kind of the front runners for the next best deck of the format. It's very slight. And even then, like, if you take those 3 decks as a whole and compare them to the rest of the meta, they're not so much more powerful than everything else, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I get being bored of Snake Eye, and this is an issue I have a lot with, like, the larger Yu-Gi-Oh community. People simply not liking something, they'll, like, warp it into, like, no, this is a problem, right? And I think saying that Snake Eye in Master Duel is currently unhealthy, or that Master Duel, rather, is currently unhealthy because of Snake Eye, is a prime example of that, right? Because, you know, again, I don't think that Snake Eye is hugely warping the meta, and we've seen it in tournament tops and on ranked ladder, as far as like the top 10 rating duel decks, and also looking at untapped stats that, you know, when it comes to both win rate and popularity, this deck doesn't even have the highest of either. It did not make the top 5 best decks of the format on rating duels, and, you know, there are not like that many tournament tops with it either. Like, especially since Yubel has come out, there have been like very, very minimal tournament tops, right? As compared to what Snake Eye used to get in the past, right? So, you know, and again, it's okay to be bored of Snake Eye. I'm a little bored of Snake Eye. I say that all the time on the channel, but again, equating I don't like this deck, oh, it's still prominent, then the game is unhealthy. Like, I think that's just there's a serious disconnect there between subjective opinion and what is the objective, you know, truth, right? Again, that's I've actually kind of been thinking about making, I've said as much on Twitter a couple of times lately, but I've even been thinking about making a YouTube video about this frankly, problem that I've noticed in larger Yu-Gi-Oh discussions. I think larger Yu-Gi-Oh discussions are abysmal. I think our community is garbage at having good conversations about the objective state of the game. Everyone just wants to turn it into, well, this is my ideal ban list. If they banned this, this, and this, then the game would be good. And it's like, okay, all right. And I mean, it's not even for right now. Like, there is a lot of justified complaining in the TCG. I'm not saying that kind of complaining is never justified. But, like, for Master Duel in particular, again, it's wild to me. And also, let's not pretend that doesn't literally happen all of the time, right? Like, we can look back at past formats and be like, oh, that was a good format. For Master Duel, people often say that about branded Sword Soul formats, but in the moment, like, during branded Sword Soul format, everyone was just complaining nonstop about branded Sword Soul, like they are today. Anyway, again, that's probably gonna be its whole other, its own video at this point, but, yeah, I think like I said before, I don't really have too much to say about this particular build. So let's go ahead and just break it down card by card, and then we will check out some replays. So we're on 1 Krayt Kara Divine Incarnate, 1 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Snake Eye Oak, 1 Legendary Fire King Ponix, 2 Snake Eyes Poplar, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Fire King Avatar Arvada, 2 Fire King Courtier Olkinix, 3 Diabell Star the Black Witch, 1 Fire King High Avatar Garunix, 1 Snake Eyes Flamber Dragon, 1 Sacred Fire King Garunix, 3 Fire King High Avatar Kirin, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Sinful Spoils of Subversion, Snake Eye, 2 Bonfire, 1 Original Sinful Spoils, Snake Eye, 1 Fire King Island, 1 Fire King Sanctuary, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Cross That Designator, 1 Wanted Seeker of Sinful Spoils, 1 Fire King Skyburn, and then 2 Infinite Impermanence. That's going to round out our main deck. For the extra, we are on 1 Garunix Eternity, Hyang of the Fire Kings, 1 Linkribo, 1 Salmon Great Sunlight Wolf, 1 Hita the Fire Charmer Ablaze, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 SP Little Knight, 2 Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, 1 Amphibious Swarm Ship Ambluale, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 Axis Code Talker, 1 World Sea Dragon Zealantis, 1 Salmon Great Raging Phoenix, and then finally 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. That's our list. Let's watch some games. Okay, our first opponent's going to be on Tri-Brigade Sprite with a Yubel package. A new season, so we get to see our opponent's deck list now that we're no longer in rating duels. Very eager to play against this deck because this was actually, if you remember again from yesterday's video, or if you've seen the top 10 rating duel deck list, Tri-Brigade Sprite with a Yubel package was actually the number 3 rating duel deck. So eager to play against it here for sure. They're going to lead with opening of the Spirit Gates for the Dark Beckoning Beast. I did notice they were on 60 cards. With this opening, I kind of assumed it was either a 60-card UBEL deck or maybe an everything pile. Either way, I'm going to max C as soon as the second Dark Beckoning Beast hits the board there. And sure enough, that will cause my opponent to pivot into the SP and then probably end up passing, yep, shortly afterward, I would imagine here. As I go to end the main phase, though, I'm going to activate the Kieran in hand and use it to destroy the Poplar in my hand. The reason that I did this is because I have the Diabellstar, right, in hand. So now I have an essentially free material to send it to the graveyard and summon it to the field, and the Poplar will still come right back to the Spell Trap Zone. Or potentially with the Snake Eye Ash that we top decked off the Maxi as well, we could potentially use the Poplar in the Spell Trap for that other effect too. If nothing else, it does also give me the option to run over the SP if I want to, before I start my plays here, so. Alright, going into our turn, Triple Attack is actually a really, really good draw. Gonna go for the Wanted. Opponent's going to immediately fire off the SP Little Knight. This was definitely a misplay, and it really, to me, kind of felt like a case of Yellow Button Turbo. I don't really see any reason why you would want to SP, one, in this situation in particular, but two, I don't understand why you'd be worried about the Kieran. Maybe they were worried that I would just go to battle, but I mean, obviously by, playing the Wanted, I've committed to making some amount of plays here, so. Not only has the opponent actually, cleared their SP out of the way, but now they've gone and made my Triple Attack live as well. No hand traps in there. There was a Fallen of Argos, which is a very interesting tech there. So we were able to just go ahead and shuffle back the Sprite Blue. I think the other two cards are 2 copies of Opening of the Spirit Gates, so yeah, we'll just get rid of the Sprite Blue there. Pretty easy in my opinion. And yeah, from here, I think we're just going to end up OTKing, right? Like, we should have all the necessary tools to do so here. Got the Ponix grabbing the Fire King Sanctuary. Okay, yeah, then that's where they concede. I was going to say, I knew they conceded at some point. I felt like it was kind of early on, so. Yeah, no, I think that was a really. To be fair, I mean, with that situation, I don't know that there's much our opponent could have done to, like, play out of the situation as a whole. But that still doesn't mean that it was right to SP the Kieran super early. Yeah, no, I think, as I'm thinking about it here, they probably should have SP'd my Snake Eye Ash, right? Now, granted, I did top deck the Snake Eye Ash and it's at 1, but if I'm activating Wanted, then you should expect that I'm going to probably go into Snake Eye Ash at some point, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Well, you could also, there isn't also an argument to, well, no, not with the Kieran on the field, never mind. I was going to say for just SPing the Diabellstar when it comes down, so I don't have anything to tribute off, or send off of the original Sin, but again, I would have already had the Kieran on the field, so yeah, I don't know. Oh, and that's also, I don't know if I remember if I pointed this out or not, but that's also why I activated Wanted in the main phase and not the draw phase, was because I did in fact have the Triple Attack in hand. So, okay, that'll do it for our first duel here. Let's go ahead and check out the next one. Okay, so this opponent is cooking. They're on Horus Blue Eyes, but they're teching a Bamboo Sword engine that even includes some Infernoble Knight cards, like Oliver. They're main decking Oliver, and they have the Charles, Synchro, and Link in the extra deck too, so that's kind of wild. We're taking the first turn. This time I'm going to open with the Bonfire. Opponent's going to Ash Blossom that. I also think that's a misplay. To use Ash Blossom against Bonfire pretty much ever. I think literally every Bonfire target is going to lead to something that's better to Ash in general. Going to follow up with normal summon Poplar. Opponent's going to throw out the Veiler here. Now, it makes a little more sense why they Ashed Bonfire if they had Veiler as well, but I still don't think that justified the use of Ash Blossom there. What I think especially because, like, well, again, I guess they didn't know that I had Poplar in hand in addition to Bonfire, but the fact that they Ashed Bonfire here was actually a godsend for us. It very, very much helped us out. And even if you are holding like multiple hand traps, right? Even if you think, okay, well, I have Ash and Veiler, so I can Ash the Bonfire, and if they have a play, I can just Veiler it. While that is technically true, you are at the same time still giving up a hand trap that you could potentially use later. Like, I think if I was in that situation, I mean, obviously I would have let Bonfire resolve. I would have just added Snake Eye Ash, normal summoned it, they could have Veilered it, right? And then looking at my hand, I would not have had a follow-up play. They did not at all have to use that Ash Blossom, so Yeah, it's that's the thing about hand trap usage, right? It's not even just like use it against a specific card and not others. It's more, it's kind of a common sense thing too, to a degree. I don't know how common actually, because it does require, like, you know, competitive experience and knowledge, but to a degree, I think. So anyway, we did successfully resolve the Max C here. So that is going to kind of hamper what our opponent's able to do. When I saw the Dragon Shrine and the Bamboo stuff, I thought it was an Exodia deck, but then I saw the Horus stuff come out, and I was like, okay, it's probably not Exodia, actually. Opponent's going to summon all 4 Horus bodies and then move to battle phase. That does end up playing around the nib that's in my hand here, which is a little bit annoying. So we're going to use the Link Karibo on the Hoppy that's battling at that effect there. I'll let them swing in with their other stuff, but then, except for Dumatef, as they try to lethal me with that, I'm definitely going to use the Imperm here on it. Alright, so we are living at 2,500 life points, and our opponent is passing over to us. At first I was like, wow, they're not going into a rank game, but they actually, looking at their list, they don't have that many rank games to even go into. So now we have to play through a board of all 4 Horus monsters, which might look intimidating, but actually with a pretty average setup here, we're going to be able to handle all of this and not proc any one of these effects as we remove these monsters from the board. So I'm going to lead with a draw phase wanted just because I have it here, so why not, even though I already have a Diabell Star. Going to send the Spell Trap Zone Poplar to special the Diabell Star F to set a Sinful Spoils card, and then of course the Poplar F as well. Poplar going to put itself back into Spell Trap. Going to set the original Sinful Spoils. Send off the Spell Trap Zoned Poplar in order to pull out Ponix here. I'm grabbing Ponix and not Snake Eye Ash for 2 reasons. 1, because I don't have access to my Fire King engine at all right now. And 2, I already have both Poplars. 1 is in hand and the other is in the yard. So Snake Eye Ash just actually kind of doesn't do anything here. Okay, so this is actually a pretty important thing that I'm setting up here. You'll notice that I popped Arvata and not Kirin in order to resurrect the Ponix, and that's because I want a monster negate on the board. I don't know for certain that I'm going to need it, but I may end up needing it from the the Horus monsters in general, right? But there is also the potential for a hand trap, and I didn't know this at the time, but the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon also can special summon itself when any card on the field is destroyed. I thought a Blue Eyes monster had to be destroyed. This card is like actually way more cracked than I thought it was, but anyway. So we're going to link off the Diabell and the Ponix into Hita, because our opponent does have an Ash Blossom in the graveyard over there, so we'll go ahead and yoink that, and then go into the Promethean Princess. Alright, now from here, I'm going to use Promethean Princess and bring back the Arvata. Normal summoning the Poplar, because I haven't used my normal summon yet. That way I can not only get Subversion and use it on one of the Horus monsters here, but now I can link off the Poplar with the Promethean Princess. See, I not only wanted to keep new Garudix in play for stats, but also the Arvata, I wanted to keep that in play again to have that monster negate up, so... Alright, here's the Zealantis, and this is how we're going to deal with the majority of their Horus monsters. So we're going to banish with World Sea Dragon Zealantis, right? But you'll notice, as I'm bringing back their Horus monsters, I'm putting them all on the field in face-down defense position. And that's how you play around a Horus board with Fire King Snake Eye. By going for the Zealantis OTK and putting them all face down, they don't get a chance to activate. Now, if I had brought them back face up, the Horus monsters' effects would actually have activated. Because even though I'm putting them back onto the field, their cards did still leave the field by my card effect. So if Dumatef had still been in play, or if I had brought them all out face up, they would all activate. But by bringing them out face down, face down monsters obviously cannot activate an on-field effect. So by bringing them back face down, they don't get the opportunity to trigger those effects. Gonna use Promethean Princess to pop the Garunix and one of the Horus monsters, bringing back that Salmon Great Raging Phoenix. Here is the Jet Dragon trying to come back, and again, very glad that I went out of my way to go for the Arvata. I was more worried about like a nib, or, well, I mean, if they had a nib, they probably would have done it sooner, but I was just more worried about hand traps in general. I actually, again, was not cognizant of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon being able to come back when I was making this play, but that's kind of the thing too, right? Like, even if you don't know your opponent's deck 100%, or like if you don't bother to read their cards, which we real, we're Yu-Gi-Oh players, we don't a lot of the time. That's why it's still good to like, or that's why it is good in general to like go for a monster negate or just a negate in general and keep it on the board, just in case, right? It's better to have that insurance. If it's not going to screw you up, if it's not going to keep you from winning the duel that turn, then I would definitely go out of my way to keep something like Arvada on the field, even if I didn't see my opponent gain press priority. Again, they could be holding their toggle off. There could be a effect that I'm not aware of, like the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. So it's just better and safer to make negates than not, if possible, and if it doesn't screw your plays up too much. But yeah, still got one more duel we're going to check out here. Let's finish off with that one. And our final opponent is going to be on Centurion, the Floodgate Edition. They've got the D-Fissures, they've got the deck lockdowns, they are definitely ready to floodgate us, but thankfully we are going to take the first turn, so we should be all good with that. Draw phase wanted because I don't have triple attack. They're going to use the Maxi directly in response. I tend to think this is a misplay. This one's a little more understandable, and I'm actually going to talk about this. I think I did decide that I want to make two different hand trap videos, one about like using hand traps and disruptions in general, and one about like, okay, against certain decks, here's where you hand trap. And I'm not going to lie, I think that on turn 1, Maxing in response to a draw phase wanted, I think that's a misplay. Now, again, I understand why, like, I understand the thought process behind doing it. It's like, oh, the Diabell Star special summon doesn't start a chain link. So if I want to get a draw off of Maxi, then I want to Maxi before the main phase, so that way I can get it. But, I think the main reason I think it's a misplay is because your opponent could simply not play the Diabell Star. They could just hold their stuff and, like, you know, maybe set an Imperm or something and then pass. Which, of course, that is still, you know, a very powerful thing that Maxi is doing by turn skipping. However, you can turn skip your opponent while also guaranteed getting draws and also, at the same time, not, like, forcing your opponent to use up more resources as well. Like, just because Maxi had turned ending, you know, capabilities there doesn't mean that it was used efficiently. So anyway, again, I'll get more into that in upcoming hand trap videos. Imperm is going to hit the Diabell Star here. But I can normal summon Snake Eye Oak and then use the effect to just go for Snake Eye Ash. See, it kind of looked for a second like I didn't have plays after that Imperm, but Oak coming in clutch there. Oh yeah, Oak. I think the last build we took out Oak. This build has it back in. This list that I found. So I think that's like the main difference. That and the Kurikara is. I think normally I'd probably play 2 Valor over Kurikara and Oak. But I mean, here Oak was definitely fine. Alright, yeah, from here, I'm pretty much just doing typical turn 1 Fire King Snake Eye stuff, going for Nuga Runix F, popping the Arvada again, actually, not the Kirin. The reason I didn't pop Kirin here is because I didn't really plan on making Sunlight Wolf. I think I actually do make it, though, don't I? No, I go into IP here, that's right. That's right, yeah, because now I have the Flamberge on the field, and now I can go into Princess, and then put the IP back in the spell trap zone. Yeah, the only time I think on turn 1 I really pop Kirin from deck instead of Arvada is if I think I'm going to summon Sunlight Wolf, which I didn't think I was going to here. But there we go, we got our Amble Whale, Flamberge, IP, and of course all of our follow-up that's in the graveyard as well. Opponent is going to Imperm on the Flamberge. They did top deck it. That's the one way that you can get punished by draw phase Flamberge F to summon IP. But I still usually like to do it in the draw phase anyway, because it plays around triple attack. And the thing is, like, if your opponent had triple attack during your turn 1 hand, you obviously wouldn't know it because they could use it. But if they had Imperm, they would have used it on your plays. So I think it's statistically better to play into a top-decked Imperm as opposed to a triple attack that could very easily still be in the hand, right? So, alright, D-Fissure coming down. Too little too late, though. We're going to use the Imperm on the normal summoned Centurion pre-meta as well. I mean, I guess that's not, like, necessarily too little too late for Defissure, but it's too late for Defissure and Deck Lockdown to have, like, a lot of impact in this kind of a game state, right? Yeah, so I'm gonna use the Wanted effect. I actually don't have any targets left for the original Sin, which is why I didn't search there. Yeah, I threatened to use the, well, here's the thing, right? I activated the Flamberge effect. My first thought was like, oh, I'll just push Supreme Era in the back row. But then I was like, I almost clicked on it, and then I was like, wait, no, duh, don't do that, don't do that. It'll just special summon itself out again, they'll get a search, and yeah, no, that would obviously be not good, especially because I don't think we could have actually lethaled on this turn, mostly because of Defissure there. But yeah, so I think the reason my opponent conceded was because this isn't really apparent in the replay, but I activated Flamberge's effect, but then I took a while to actually resolve it because I realized, like, oh, I don't want to actually push the pre-meta. I want to... So I was looking at my stuff in my own graveyard to potentially put in the spell trap, and then I think at that point they realized I'm not going to, you know, make the bad play, and they decided to concede. So there we go. That's it for this coverage for Snake Eye Fire King. Hope you all enjoyed those duels there. For now, though, we're going to end off with our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.